Tuesday, November the 26th, Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. And if you would, please stand and we'll start with prayer and pledge of allegiance. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity to come and to conduct city business. We ask, Lord, that you would help us to conduct this business in a way that be pleasing to you. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. If you turn to the flag, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Please have a seat. All righty. First on the agenda is consideration and approval of last month's minutes. Do I hear a motion to accept those minutes? I have a move to approve those minutes. Do I have a second? Minutes have been approved. Please, all in favor, please vote. Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, now the minutes are approved. Okay, next up is new site plan consideration. We're going to be talking about the Bear Creek water site plan. Anybody here with Bear Creek? Okay, all right. If you got, you want to make a few comments?
Just general knowledge on it. This is located on Church Road up against the railroad track over there, across the tracks from Puckett where they currently are. It's a new site. There was the question on the drainage, since there's not really a detention pond shown, with it being the elevation it is, that top portion of the east portion of the property is essentially going to be a really large swale, and that'll provide the detention capacity for it. The overall building structure, the main building up front is the one that'll be publicly accessible. That's where people will go set up accounts, pay bills and such. The remaining buildings towards the back will be similar to what they have now with work bays, storage bays, and they will have a black wrought iron fence around it.
All right, Cass. Any questions? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to accept? If they like, would y'all like to speak on it?
We don't necessarily need to, but we can answer any questions. I mean, basically it'd be similar to what we have, which is office, and then we get the more maintenance type stuff as we go to the rear of the property.
Okay.
So
I did have one just clarification on I was trying to make sure I saw the drawings right. The adjacent property has a long driveway and it's got like a cutout, but it's not going to connect. Is that right?
correct. That's MTech or MyTech steel or something, and they have these, I guess, what look like future driveways, but
Right.
they go to nowhere. They just dead end into our property.
Okay.
And no, we would not be.
Okay. So you'll just have the one entrance off Church.
Just have the one entrance that you see coming off the church, so the customers would turn right into the front parking lot.
Right.
They can go a little further and hang a right to come through the drive-through. Then you go a little further, there'll be a gate. So at that point, it'll be employees only to have employee parking and back into the maintenance area.
I guess you've got, for maneuverability, getting all your equipment in and out is fine through that.
Correct.
entrance.
Correct.
So were there traffic analysis done? That's going to come in on 51 Highway, right? Church Road. Okay. So so I don't think there'll be a traffic.
Our traffic is employees. There's right now 33 of us, I think.
Mhm.
And then what customers come to the office.
Y'all don't get a lot of customer traffic.
No, it's people signing up for accounts.
Yeah.
Most of our payments are by mail or online, really.
Mhm.
It's the bulk of it, and it's getting more and more that way. So we don't do a lot of, I mean, it won't be near about the traffic, that we have where we're at or issue, because right now it's hard for customers to get by that light.
Right.
So,
Okay.
And Tim Geddes with our architect, Dean and Dean.
Sure.
Yeah, Nolan, N-O-L-A-N,
Between 51,
Williamson.
between 51 and
I'm the
Jackson.
general manager there. And just an FYI, we do own all of that property, meaning the unused
The northern.
remaining property. We own all the way to the railroad track.
Do you know if that spur gets used? Does that company, they do?
To my knowledge, they do. It goes into their,
Their
goes right
facility.
into the, inside their building. We actually own, on the drawing, it'd be to the right, but it's technically to the south, on the other side of the spur. We own over there
Okay, it
too.
goes across.
Yeah, I think we have like 11 acres total.
Is there any plans to extend your building, your plant that way? Or could you even go that way?
We could go that way, but probably long after I retire. Yeah, we bought the land because it gives us flexibility for the future as we grow. So 40, 50 years from now, could we be using some more of the property? I mean, I think, sure. I think what we're building, if we build it, if we can afford to build it, probably keep us for 30 years with no expansion, but 50, 60 years from now, we might be using the whole thing. I can't.
So-
And we plan for building expansion
Yeah.
within the confines of that site.
Correct.
Not having to go.
Okay, that was my real.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a site that we have been building in that back parking lot for, they can expand the administration wing.
Yep.
And then the maintenance building is just a metal building with bays, so it can expand it south.
Well, one of the things is in a situation like this where you have room to expand, it helps the community to know that you don't have to look elsewhere for available property. We lost an industrial company because they didn't have any room to grow.
Yeah.
Fortunately for us, at Gluckstadt, one of our homegrown companies, Hartley Equipment, has outgrown their place and they were landlocked as well. But fortunately for us, and kudos to them, that they chose to stay in the community.
Yeah.
And help grow the city.
We could potentially even sell some of that, but my goal, as long as I'm there, is we at least keep enough to cover us for a long time, because we don't want to be 20 years down the road having to move again
Right,
and looking for property.
right.
I won't be there in 20 years, but I don't want it to be somebody else's problem.
William, you said that all the drainage concerns have been mitigated.
They have, yes.
Okay, the proposed buildings that they were speaking of that are on here, were those taken into account with the drainage or without?
It was designed around this building.
Any other questions? All right,
I move we approve as presented.
okay, we have a motion, I'll move to approve on the table.
I'll second.
We have 2 seconds, Katrina.
She got it.
We'll give it to Katrina. All right, a call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, plans are approved. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank
You're welcome to stay and enjoy the frivolity.
I think I'm gonna stay for a little while.
Okay. There's not gonna be any free food or something. Just
Okay,
don't-
I'm gonna stay for a little bit.
All right. Next on the agenda is a public hearing, so, I'll open up a public hearing. Mr. Council, you want to check for jurisdiction?
Have we in fact published and physically posted for the conditional use?
We have.
And was that within 15 days?
It was.
Okay, and since the pendency of those 15 days, has your office or the city clerk's office received any input, whether in support of or against the application for the conditional use?
We have not.
All right, thank
You
you.
go. All right. The way we do, our public hearings here, the way we've been instructed doing by our council is that, we will hear from the public regarding those who wish to, speak in favor of the project and regarding those who wish to speak, not in favor of the project. And what we would ask you to do is approach the bench or approach the podium, sign your name and your address, I think what we asked for. And try and curtail your comments to 3 minutes, okay? Now, before we'll start that, we'll hear from Mr. William Hall about the overview.
Right. Puckett Rents, recently within this year, we did a site plan approval for them to expand their current location. Camper Corral came up as an available property, and Puckett was interested in moving to it, greater visibility, larger overall size and whatnot. What we have here submitted is their conceptual site plan. The conditional use is for heavy equipment sales and service. We are zone C2, which is appropriate for that. They have taken into consideration as well in their conceptual plan here, the idea of a possible frontage road one day connecting Dees Drive all the way to Reunion Parkway. So they're working with us with that and some other concept ideas that we have. Again, C2, conditional use, and their conceptual site plan. They're just wanting to increase their visibility and overall size.
Okay, thank you. Anybody here to talk in favor of this conditional use? All right, sir, please step to the podium.
So my name's Hastings Puckett. I'm president of Puckett Machinery and Puckett Rents. And as William stated, we have recently signed a contract with the sellers of Camper Corral. As William indicated, our desire, where we're currently located on Church Road, about this time last year, I approached you guys about we had purchased an additional acre to go from 4 acres to 5 acres. And it presented you guys with a site plan, which you approved. And we actually had just started construction on this when I was notified of this property being available. And after doing some due diligence and some evaluation, we decided we could really use more land. I mean, if you go by our facility, 5 acres ain't near enough for what we're doing. And it causes the facility to be messy, unorganized. I hate to say unsafe, but we're on top of each other, and there's a lot of equipment there. So we're very interested in relocating here, where the site's approximately 11 acres, 10.9 acres. That'll give us the ability to appropriately organize, display our equipment, and just operate our business. Also provides tremendous visibility. Ultimately, we think it enables us to grow our business here in Gluckstadt. When we originally set up our facility in Church Road, it was designed to be, back in 2005, a satellite branch to our main branch in Richland. Obviously, with the growth that's occurred in this area over the years, it's grown to the point it's being constrained. And so by doing this, it'll enable us to, we believe, to continue to grow the business. The positive side for the city is that's more tax revenues for you guys versus those same tax revenues going down to Richland as well. We will use the existing building. We plan to do a little bit of expansion to the front retail and office area. We just need a little bit bigger footprint there. Then we'll renovate, update the interior of the building, the shop, and it'll see the new paint and color scheme. We intend for this to be kind of a flagship facility of ours because of its visibility and the prominence in this area. And so we want to do a first-class facility, and we expect it to be very organized, professional looking yard. We're certainly going to be displaying heavy equipment, but it'll be done so in a very professional and organized manner now that we have would have the appropriate space and acreage to do so. And we intend for the building to be very nice looking, with it being so visible and a flagship location of ours. We would also have to construct a relatively small but a drive-through wash rack comparable to what we have on along Church Road. And then a metal building warehouse somewhere in the 5,000, 5,500 square feet range. It'll be new, nice, the color scheme would be coordinated with the main building. We'll be working with an architect to help design that. So yes, it'll be a metal building warehouse, but we intend for it to be a very nice looking, appearing warehouse. And, so at this point, we're, looking for the conditional use permit so we can move forward with our contract and close on the property and grab and sell the property. That's obviously a huge contingency in the deal going through is receiving the conditional use permit.
Well, the purpose, and you're right, the purpose of this hearing is, for the conditional use. It's not a building approval. That will come at a later time. But I will tell you that, with greater visibility, that's kind of like a two-edged sword, right? You're going to be carrying not only the flagship of Puckett, but also the flag of Gluckstadt. People drive down the interstate. You know, we want them to see a very robust community. What we don't want is to see. No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. We just want a nice facility. We want to see a nice professional facility, and you speak the right words. So we're excited to hear and see what you have in mind going forward. So, any questions from the council? Mr. Puckett?
I have one, Mr. Chair. So have you say you do have permission of the landowner to seek the conditional use?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I know you have said you have the contract. Do you have written authorization or is there a representative of the landowner here?
I don't believe there's one here. The contract is obtaining the conditional use permit is one of the contingencies of the contract are listed in the contract.
Thank you.
I guess, I do have some questions about the frontage road, and this may be something the city, wanted to speak up on as well. I see on the site plan here, you know, just the outline of what the right of way would kind of look like there. Is that in line with what the city's plans have been? I guess you've worked with them. That's kind of what the future goal is for that. It would, I guess, include tearing down at least one of these buildings up in the northeast part to get it to connect all the way through.
It's a possible
One possible
solution to a
Solution.
traffic issue. It's nothing that's really
nothing
set in
anywhere
stone,
in there.
but
Yeah.
it is a possibility of having that happen. So we did ask him to give us a kind of a future road widening easement. What that does is kind of just keeps the building out of it, so we don't have to buy a building along with the land. We're just buying the land.
Right.
And he has worked with us tremendously in accomplishing that. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely, that was the first thing that popped in my mind, when I saw this project come up was this whole road system is a bit of a cluster, and I don't want anything going in here that's going to inhibit the city's ability to rectify that going forward. So I'm glad that that is already being taken into account somewhat here. And with the placement of the future buildings, you know, it looks like it does leave enough room. I do have the wash facility, I guess, going down in the southwest corner. I don't know if there's an option to put that somewhere maybe that's less prominent as far as, I know you said you were going to make it look nice, but if this frontage road ends up getting built and even without it, it's right there on the interstate. I was wondering if there's maybe somewhere else on the lot that could go that would be, where it would be concealed a little better. And so, you know, when you're not washing dirt, you got big piles of dirt, you know, in the parking lot and stuff, and just, you know, maybe a little unsightly compared to the nicer looking building, main facilities.
We can start, we're certainly open to looking at anything. It needs to be in reasonably close proximity to the building, to the shop, just from a flow and efficiency. There won't be piles of dirt. So it's a concrete slab that'll be covered, not enclosed, but covered. There's a pitch you can't see because it'll be covered with grate so that the dirt falls in the,
Down. Yeah.
in the pit. And That's
Obviously, if that frontage road goes in, it'll be in a very prominent location right there on the corner of that intersection. Was just one of the things that stood out to me as a concern going forward. But I understand your point about it needing to be where your workflow makes sense.
yeah,
How high does that wall go up?
like that.
How high does the wall go up since it's going to be covered?
So I think like the code requires us to cover the wash rack, like, you know, a metal building frame. It'll be fairly tall because equipment's got to go up under there, you know, without hitting the roof. I don't know the exact height, maybe 20 feet, 18 feet.
And there may be some options as far as landscaping, you know, around there to provide some extra cover or something.
That's a fair reason. We're willing to do whatever we need to do.
I think a lot of those discussions we can have, when we get ready to do the site plan.
Right, just want to make sure it all fits.
Yes.
Fits within there.
So I guess the question now becomes, do we, the question is do we want to accept conditional use? Any other questions for Mr. Puckett? Okay, thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anybody, speaking against the conditional use? Not seeing anyone. All right. Any other questions from the council? Committee? Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the conditional? Well, let's got to close the hearing now. Okay. We don't do these every day. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so I'm not hearing any other questions. We're going to close the hearing. All right. So now we're at the point to where we want to vote or have a motion to accept this conditional use. So do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion to accept. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, have a second. Call for vote. For all those voting to approve this conditional use, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Conditional use is accepted. All right. Next on the agenda is request for rezoning. To do a rezoning here in the city of Gluckstadt requires a public hearing, so I'll open up another public hearing. Same rules apply. So
I do want to ask the same questions of the zoning administrator. How was this published in the newspaper of general circulation 15 days before today's date for the public hearing?
Yes,
And also posted in that same time frame physically on the property in question?
yes.
And during that time, did your office or the city clerk's office receive any input from anyone from the public in response to those?
We have not.
Okay, thank you.
I understand we have jurisdiction.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hall?
All right, this is for a rezoning request. This parcel lies right against our city line. Next door to the north in the county is the new development, Lewis Farms, that is being built. Same developers involved with this. We're seeking to rezone from the current R1 to R2. R1 has a minimum lot requirement of 2 acres. For the housing development that they're looking at, they would prefer smaller lots. So we're seeking to rezone to R2. That would allow for the smaller lots down to approximately a third, quarter of an acre for the houses to be built on. Conceptual plan turned in for what could be developed on it. There is some additional parcels to the south that would also need that in the future, but this is just the initial development plan and part of the process of procurement of the land and such.
Any questions for Mr. Hall?
Is this, I was trying to think, has the city done a residential development yet since we've been incorporated? Like of this size, I guess?
We have not.
I didn't think so. This will be a first for the city, which is good.
And just as a general reminder to the commission, you know, whenever you recommended that land be rezoned, you're making a finding either there was a mistake in the original zoning, which I don't even think the petitioner is requesting that.
No,
to be made.
change of character.
Or that there would be a change in character and a public need. So whatever recommendation you make would be asking the Board of Aldermen to either find that those two things exist or not find.
So this pink area, that's an existing
That's an
residence?
existing
that
resident that, will remain there
will remain.
till they vacate the property.
Okay, so weren't interested in development, I guess. Does that leaves a weird parcel there that's gonna be kind of dangling, I guess.
There was a proposal that could become, like a little park or green space area for the residents.
Okay.
There's a number of things that could be done with it.
So that residence, is that a road into the residence?
It is
That long
an existing driveway.
What's the acreage for that? Do you know?
For the resident,
The resident.
about 4 acres, approximately 4 to 5 acres.
So the solid line on there, that's the
City
city
limits.
limits?
Yeah.
And the parcel we're looking at is just this one,
Correct. Just the long narrow.
the long narrow one,
Yeah,
right?
there's,
So
there's
these,
3 additional smaller ones there at the bottom.
so are those, they're not asking for those to be rezoned yet?
Not
or-
this time.
Okay.
They are currently, I'm Steve Rimmer, representing Rand's, and we're developers of that subdivision, to the north. As we currently own the property to the south of those 3 parcels, and they are currently R2.
The
They
three
were-
little ones?
Yes. So this is essentially the strip between, there's an R1 strip between the 2 R2 parcels.
Is our map out of date? Cause the map online also showed them as R1.
Yeah, our maps show all that as R1.
No, we had the land rezoned,
Prior to the city incorporated?
before. So when it was incorporated, it was already R2.
So that would be a mistake in the map, if that were the case, potentially. But that's not for the one that's come up here.
Right, so maybe I can get some clarity on that from Mr. Hall. So we're talking about county level zoning that was R2, right?
That's what it sounds like. County rezoned it before we incorporated.
So that wouldn't apply. What would apply would be after that fact, when the city
adopted that.
adopted its ab initio zoning, right here. This is because the city has exclusive zoning jurisdiction over this right now. And does the city zoning match up with that county designation?
Does not. This is the current zoning map, shows it ought to be R1.
Okay. All right, so it's R, so the request is correct for it to go from R1 to R2.
But they are under the assumption that the adjacent property was already R2, which I would assume is contingent for the development.
Right, and, I guess there is a distinction between a zoning designation, and actual changing character on the ground, so that's certainly a finding that you and the Board of Aldermen together as residents of the city of Gluckstadt and business owners of the city of Gluckstadt, you're expected under the law to use your familiarity with the area. So, I wouldn't necessarily let a technical hang up like that affect your findings that you're going to recommend. I just wanted to make sure the zoning designation is clear.
Let me make sure the commissioners are clear. Is there any question regarding what's been discussed so far? Are you guys clear on your understanding between the R1 and the R2 is what was previously and what is now zoned? Okay. Any question? Because now's the time to clear it up. Okay. Any other questions for this gentleman? Did you sign the roster? You don't mind. Go ahead.
So you said you're also the developer for Lewis Farm to the
Correct.
north, is that right?
Yes.
I guess these initial concepts, it shows no connections. They would be separate developments. Is that, I was trying to tell.
Lewis Farms will currently, if you look to the left side, it will come into there. It will, part of Lewis Farms will go into this, if it's rezoned. And then there'll be a separate subdivision to the south.
Right,
It will
so
also take part of it,
you're not proposing to have them connect?
not connected.
I would like to see them connected personally because I think having too many dead end neighborhoods can be a pain for traffic and a lot of ingress and egress problems.
Well, the biggest reason is that there's a creek that runs.
Right, yeah, so there's intermittent stream that runs between the neighborhoods, and then this portion down here is in the floodplain, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
So
that will not, that's
that's part of why that's not.
yeah, we'll probably use it for flow retention.
Okay. There was another thing that I did notice is we've got two lakes to the west, Reunion Lake and West Lake, that both, if they were to fail, they flow down this creek. So their inundation flood area includes this low lying area that is already in the floodplain, so isn't really developable, but
Yeah, we're not proposing anything in the floodplain.
I did notice that one, but it may have an effect on flood retention stuff as far as what you want to put there as well. I just wanted to note that. Okay. Let's see, what else do I have? Okay, so as far as ingress and egress for the neighborhood, I mean, Catlett is 2-lane right here. Is there any long-term plans for the city as far as expansion of that stretch of Catlett?
Currently,
It is on the, that is on, the supervisors have approved, that is one of the expansions, is that section of Catlett between Stribling Extension and Gluckstadt Road.
Between Stribling and
Now,
Gluckstadt?
timeframe, I wouldn't know, but that is
Right.
in their road
Oh,
plan,
the 3-lane?
eventual 5-lane. Yes.
Now, they do have projects in the works to improve the Gluckstadt Road, Bozeman, Catlett intersection. Also Stribling Extension and Catlett, that will get an improvement and a red light, I believe. And then further north of there, what's the name of that? Catlett and Stribling, improving that as well. So those 3 intersections will help move traffic
So
further
that'll
on the
move
existing two.
That improvement is all the way out to Reunion, right? Is that correct?
no,
Over to the north side.
no, just those 3 intersections.
Just those 3 intersections
Just the 3.
going up Catlett. Those are in progress now.
They're under contract with Madison County.
Okay. So, and I guess as far as right of way, that's all been taken care of already for the front entrance.
Correct, you can see that in that space there.
So I was trying to tell where the entrance would line up. Would it be opposite of the Stillhouse Creek or is it slightly to the
It
south?
would be to the south.
Okay.
Stillhouse Creek would be just about at the city limit line, just north
Right,
of
that's
the.
what it looks like. It was right above the city line.
They did on the lines of the residential drive.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, it's unfortunate we couldn't get any of them to line up opposite each other. That would have been convenient, but there's not really a good way for that to work. Because this one's to the north and this is alternating.
With the center turn lane,
That was gonna be my question, is if there were no plans for expansion, a center turn lane would be something that would be helpful to look at. But if that's already in the works, that's good to know. That's all I've got.
Anybody else have any other questions?
What were the, minimum lot sizes for Lewis Farm?
Minimum lot size is just what the R2 is required. It's the 10,300 square feet is the minimum just for R2 spec.
Okay, and so,
Which typically there are larger than that. It's just, the average is in Lewis Farm is around 15,000.
okay. And so, this new development, same thing, 10,300
Yes.
would be the minimum.
Yes.
So you actually have 10,300.
Well, that's what's required for R2.
Okay. I just didn't know if
That's-
that would end up being closer to 15 because some of the lot sizes.
Yes, I mean,
look a little
obviously
smaller
they
than what
vary
you have.
because of the way the roads turn. You get some lots bigger, some, but that's just gonna be your standard lot size.
Okay, what size houses are these gonna be?
Lewis Farms, we have currently have 1,800 square foot minimum. We're doing anywhere from 18 to 23 under construction in there now.
Okay, so this new development will be the same.
Luke, I really don't know on the next, on the subdivision to the south. Obviously, the other part of Lewis Farms that would go into this would maintain that. It wouldn't, we just haven't decided on the other because it's still quite a ways away.
Okay, so you're not sure what the minimum square footage of the houses?
We haven't set
Or
one.
the range of square footage? Okay.
Any other questions?
And do you have a particular like builder group? Is it gonna be the same builders that?
I have, a partner in the development has his own home building company, and I do as well, and we do all of the construction.
Okay.
We don't sell any lots outside of that.
I'm just talking, just speaking out loud. I don't know if this is, as far as the character of I mean, they're making plans to widen that road, and we're not really sure from what the time frame for that. If the current infrastructure can hold, what is it, 80 something? Is that a appropriate question for me to ask in this particular setting?
That would be in the part that we're trying to have rezoned now, there's approximately 50 lots.
Okay, so 80, is it 82? That's part of the whole thing. but
Part of the whole
50
thing, yes.
Okay. And you say 50,
50 is in this 37 acres that we're
50
proposing
lots,
for rezone.
okay.
Approximately, give or take.
There's a lot of traffic. Would increase in that area.
Was the traffic study completed for this
Yes.
proposal? Do you have any high level details, Mr. Conley?
I mean, the traffic at Stribling Road Extension and Catlett Road is operating at level service F in the peak hours. You know, and there's congestion there. The county had done a prior study, when traffic backs up across the entrance of Lake Caroline to the north, you know, for about 30 minutes in the morning. So that's one of the reasons the county is moving forward, and hired engineers to expand Catlett Road, and the Stribling Road Extension intersection. So I think you are dealing with capacity issues currently, but there's room to expand, and the county has engaged engineers to increase the capacity. The traffic signal is going to have a big impact there, at the Stribling Road Extension, Catlett Road intersection. The Bozeman Road, Catlett, Cluckstadt intersection is under contract, is my understanding also, and that's going to add capacity there. So, yeah, there is limited capacity currently.
Does it ever back up all the way to where this entrance would be from the Gluckstadt Road light?
I did not have traffic cameras at this intersection there where Lewis Farms ties in. I had a camera at the Stribling Road Extension intersection and at the Gluckstadt Road Extension. I was not looking at the back of the southbound queue.
I'm assuming you're planning on having an HOA.
Yes.
would you be providing, allowing rentals?
Yeah.
In that development?
We have, on our current one in Lewis Farms, we exclude that.
Any other questions for this gentleman? You good? All right, anybody else want to speak in favor of this, this project? Okay, at this time, we would listen to anybody who would like to speak against this project. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to
Please come
clarify, this is the 37.2 acres from the Rands LLC?
Yes.
Okay, I do want to speak to it.
All right, if you would, please just sign your name
Okay.
and your address.
Sure. So my name is Penny Kuhlman. I apologize for being late. We got a little lost. I live directly across from that property, and I can tell you unequivocally that the traffic backs up past my house, especially when school is in session, right around 7:30. It's past my house. And my neighbor to the north of us is where the Gluckstadt-Madison County line starts and stops. My concern about this is twofold: traffic for sure, and also the number of houses and the sizes of them could possibly lower my resale value. So that I'm glad to hear that you're not looking at putting rentals, but still with the smaller size houses, I believe typically will draw less business sales. And as far as the widening of Catlett Road, I mean, we've been here just a couple of years, and I've heard from my sister that's been here shortly after Katrina that they've been talking about widening Bozeman and Catlett since she moved here. So the traffic right now is just horrendous. I mean, trying to get across the street to my post box, my mailbox sometimes literally takes me a couple minutes because the traffic is just nonstop. So it's almost, I went to the post office the other day voicing a safety concern for me having to cross the Catlett Road every day to get my mail. And unfortunately, they're saying that, you know, we can't change mailbox over to our side of the property. We still have to have it across over on their side. So that's my concerns: traffic and the number of houses going in there, and then the possibility of dropping my resale value of my property.
For the developer, I'm sorry, when will you know what the square footage of the new thing will be?
You would do that upon, eventually we come back with a preliminary plat. I mean, we're open to suggestions for that. I'm just looking to have it rezoned. We haven't even, I mean, we could even alter something on that. That's flexible. And we're not asking for anything zoning that's not anything that's around, across the street, down, up on both sides as well.
Do y'all, I know you have a building agreement, do y'all sell them too? Y'all use a realtor? What do y'all,
We use,
or do y'all, so y'all build stock and then sell?
Yes.
Okay. What is the general going per square foot in that area?
Lewis Farms now is about $200.
Okay.
We've done, I think the most sold one is about 203.
Family's your home, the one that's got the lake in front of it.
Yes, sir. The 1 acre pond. Yes, sir.
In Lewis Farms, the houses, least expensive now is about they were around 370 to 450.
So, Mr. Hall, when this comes back before for the plat, they'll have to have met all the subdivision regulations that the city has, right?
Correct.
So that handles things like the road layout and widths and things like that. Yeah, all the easements and stuff. Okay, so that will all be accounted for at that point.
Yeah, just for clarification, what this commission does is sends a recommendation to the Board of Aldermen. And our recommendation will be to either approve or not to approve. But the Board of Aldermen will have ultimate say on what occurs. We just hear this as a preliminary, and then we send our recommendation. I say that to say this: if you don't get the decision that you want or that you feel is right, you have the opportunity to go before the Board of Aldermen and appeal our recommendation. So just want you to know that and be aware of that. All right. Anybody else like to speak against this this rezoning? All right, hearing none, then I'm going to close our public hearing. Okay. So do I have,
I'll say before we go to a vote, just looking at the map and knowing that to the north, outside the city is R2 and to the east is mostly R2. I feel like that's where this area is heading. And I think the changing character matches, and you could see there, they did a good job laying out the timeline of all the rezoning. So I appreciated that. That made it easy to follow, of all those parcels. And I especially appreciate the info about a public need, because as I mentioned initially, we have not, as far as I know, zoned any new developments for residential in Gluckstadt since we have been incorporated in 3 years. And I'd love to see this city grow, and we can't do that. No people can move in because we can't build any houses. So I'm looking forward to seeing some new development, some new houses come in. I think it will be good for the city to have some new residents, and I'm hopeful that we'll get that road done in time, and that will alleviate a lot of our concerns on traffic.
yes, ma'am.
So I agree with that comment. It would be nice to have the money come in. However, if you don't have the infrastructure built prior,
It's a chicken or the egg. Yeah, it's a tough
I mean, like I said, the
situation.
traffic is bad enough now, and then you're gonna add another 50 plus houses, plus the Lewis Farms that's being built right now, and you've got Stillhouse, and you've got First Colony. So within a half a mile north of Gluckstadt, you've got like 3 pretty major subdivisions, and then our 2 properties, myself and my neighbors. And like I said, it's the traffic there.
Right.
It's crazy.
The problem is if you only build where there's no traffic, you can't build because we got traffic everywhere. And if you wait till the roads are fixed before you build, you can't build because roads are always getting fixed and upgraded. It takes too long.
I guess I have a question on that too. If Gluckstadt Road and that part of Catlett and this area where you're putting the subdivision, now that it's in the city of Gluckstadt, the city doesn't have any, like priority to change the road there, or it stays with the county maintained? I mean, wouldn't you guys have more influence and say, well, we're the city, we want our road done?
We do have talks with the county. We've been in talks with them about getting it widened. We're working hand in hand with them to get everything widened, brought up to.
Now, you made the comment that we've had conversations about that road being improved. I can tell you this, that Entergy has moved all of their facilities out of the way to allow for that improvement to occur. That would not occur unless it was imminent that they were about to start turning dirt and making those improvements. Will it happen tomorrow? Probably not. And will it take it a while to get done? Absolutely it will.
So are you talking about Catlett or are you talking about Bozeman? Because Bozeman has been removing the power poles and
Correct.
everything in preparation to widen Bozeman, but I don't believe anything has been done on Catlett.
Okay. Yeah, I was talking about.
And I could be wrong.
No, you're right.
So
No, I was
Catlett,
talking, yeah,
yeah, Catlett hasn't
Yeah, I'm
had.
talking Catlett,
okay.
the other side. I realize that,
Yeah, I was talking both.
Okay,
yeah, I
so-
realize Bozeman is, yeah.
And that will help with some of the traffic.
If I could approach, this is the Bozeman Catlett intersection improvements that are part of the Bozeman project.
Because you also have traffic going to Lake Caroline, you have traffic going to Ashbrook, you have traffic going to some of the other subdivisions back there. So again, you got a 2-lane, one each direction, and it's just,
Right.
It's
Yeah, there's
not-
not enough roads around, unfortunately. It's just we're having to work with what we have available. And when all these developments come in and parcel out, then you cut off the city's ability or the county's ability to put new roads in and add access, which can make it difficult. But in this case, in this situation, backing up to the floodplain like this, there's not a lot that can be done back behind there anyway.
I guess another question would be, is now the timing for this development? Is that an appropriate question?
Well,
Because of the infrastructure, this is something that needs to be postponed until there's adequate.
I'm not gonna tell you it's an inappropriate question. I don't think y'all are at the point where you would necessarily be approving any kind of development or anything tonight. This would purely be a question of zoning, obviously connected. But I don't think the recommendation or even a rezoning by the board of aldermen would, you know, approve the density or anything. I mean, there are other steps to that process.
So
Next
you're,
on the road, but we have to decide if,
yeah,
if
we want
there's
to
a change in
move.
character in the neighborhood
Right.
or in the area.
So your issue is, I don't want to put words in your mouth. My question to you, is your issue the rezoning or is your issue the traffic?
I don't really have an issue with the R1 because from our calculation, I believe it was only gonna be 18 houses on 2 acres in that 37.2
Allowable.
for the R1.
But yeah, it was our
And
word,
then-
she said.
Yeah.
And then with R2, it like triples that to up to over 100 houses. So for the 18 houses, if I'm understanding correctly, for the R1, so to me, that's acceptable because you're only looking at a couple dozen more, you know, houses there. But when you're bringing 100 houses and it seems as though these days a family has 2-3 cars, you're looking at, you know, 200 more cars coming in and out. You got Stillhouse entrance and exit right there, and then this one's gonna be right there. It's gonna be a zoo. And then First Colony is not that much, it's probably a 1/10 of a mile down, and then our 2 driveways are right in between First Colony and Stillhouse. So, you know, the R1, I mean, I would rather still have cattle across the street from me, but, you know, I mean, I'm being realistic. It's gonna happen eventually. So the R1, fine, but again, the traffic is just, it's crazy.
I guess I have a question too. Is there a timeline after we do zone it to R2? How soon is that developer gonna go in there and do like he did at Lewis Farms?
They'll have to come back before our board and have the site plan and the preliminary plats for the neighborhood
You're
approved.
talking 2 years, a year, or 10 years?
He has to come back within a calendar year or
Not for a reason.
Not for-
not for rezoning, but for the building plan. If we rezone it to R2 tonight, that means he has the right to build that side of the building in those number of lots, right? Then he has to come back with how he plans to develop that. And then we would approve that. And from that point, he has a calendar year to actually start construction. Now, that's in a commercial. John, that would be the same way in a residential.
Well, yeah, I mean,
His approval from the Board of Aldermen is for a calendar year. Is that correct?
a rezoning wouldn't have a.
No, I'm not talking about rezoning. I'm saying after we have already approved, after the council has approved to move this to R2, then he comes back with a plan of how he wants to develop that new piece of property. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true. I don't know of any kind of timeline restriction on a plat. Now, what you may be thinking of is sometimes if a conditional use is issued and a property is never used for the conditional use or ceases to be used for the conditional use, that it can expire. The law is recognized 6 months or so. I don't believe
So,
that.
when
No, I'm just questioning, say today we do this, and then the alderman within a month or so, and it gets zoned R2. How soon is he going to be over there developing? I guess that's what I'm asking. A year, 2 years, 5 years?
Do you have any
It would
timeline?
be, well, we would continue Lewis Farms first. That would, as far as this newer subdivision, it'd be at least 2 years. I mean, we close the property after rezoning, of course, and then you have to start all of the engineering with, and the infrastructure and townhouse. I mean, well over 2 years before we had a house ready to be occupied.
But you would initially at least come in and finish that would be the southwest portion there.
Yes.
That would, and because that would still have to come before us, right? It's still part of that. It's weird with it splitting the city line.
We're trying to come up with something for that.
Something worked out there. Okay.
So in a commercial building, they come before us with a building, a site design. Let's say they're in the right zone. And they come to us with a site design. I mean, a building design. We approve that design, or we recommend approval of that design. It goes to Alderman. They approve it. It's time stamped, right?
Correct.
Okay. They have how much time to develop or to start construction and complete that project?
That would be site plan approval.
Yeah.
They would have 1 year.
Okay, so they had 1 year. That's what I'm talking about, John. So if we go R2, I understand there's no time limit. It's just an R2 zone. But when he comes to us with a residential plan for us to recommend approval, and he goes to the Board of Aldermen, that residential plan, does he have a year to start developing that residential plan? And if he takes longer than that, does he have to come back and get it
There's
reapproved?
time. I believe it's a year as well, but, you would have to bring it back up for
Yeah, I believe it's much like site plan. You get 1 year, and there is a possible one-time 6-month extension.
Yeah, okay. So it's the same rule that applies to commercial and industrial would apply to residential.
Yeah, but he has to go bring the preliminary plat. Once the preliminary plat's approved, him and his engineers have to get, together, design the plans, which would take a few months.
Yeah.
That was come back with one board, both boards, but you're talking about just a year, that sort of process, unless the engineering just is very easy. But I agree with him, probably 2 years down the road is when he actually, he start to move in people.
So tonight, the question becomes, do we change this zone to R1 or R2? That's it. Then once that occurs, we'll send that recommendation to the Board of Aldermen. And they will ultimately choose if that's what we want to do. And then after that happens, and let's just say they approved it, and now it's R2, then he has to come back to this group with a plat. Now, there's no time limit to when he can come back. All we've done is just change the zone on the map. That's all. Then he can come back with his plat, and then we will review the plat. And we will recommend or not recommend that it goes forward to the alderman. Once it goes forward to the alderman, they approve it. Then he's on the clock to start development. And he's got a year. And if he does not start development in that year, he has to come back and seek approval. Now, he can seek a 6-month extension. So at most 18 months, then he comes back to get reapproved for that plat. Start the whole process over again. So that's how it works. What I was not sure of, does it occur in the residential realm as the way it does in the commercial and industrial realm. This is the first residential one we've done. So it's good to know that that's how it works.
Well, once it's zoned, it doesn't revert back to R1
No.
after.
No.
Once it's reverted, it's reverted.
Yeah, all we're doing is saying this zoning has these rights attached to it. That's all we're doing tonight. Okay. Characteristics, not right, but characteristics.
I guess, and then I also have one other question. And of course, it doesn't pertain to tonight, but once it does go or whatever, and he puts his plans in and stuff like that, are there certain stipulations and regulations as to how he does his construction and his, vehicles out in the road and that kind of stuff?
Yes, ma'am.
Because when he's out building, he's gonna have dirt, he's gonna have noise, he's gonna have tractors, graders. I mean, it's gonna be a lot of stuff and you're gonna be unloading or whatever, like they did with the Lewis Farms thing. And then also, I don't know how that works either, because, you know, I know they did all that stuff with the taking the trees down, and then unfortunately we had the 60-mile-an-hour winds. They took down the power lines for 3 days. So I don't wanna see any of that kind of stuff happening over there either. So do I have a right to know what's legal or not legal, or be able to say, hey, you guys are making a mess, or down the road come to the meeting and say, when you do this construction, can I have a stipulation in here that you don't disturb me to a point?
Yes, ma'am, you would come to the city and you'd say, Mr. William Hall, and he would manage that situation.
Okay.
I believe the building construction permit that the city will issue will have a lot of stipulations on
Well,
what
that's
they
what I
are
was
or
wondering,
not
how much
allowed.
there is and how much I can still put a little bit more input in, because, you know, I watched all that stuff at Lewis Farms, and there was some pretty good promotion over there. And a lot of
So Mr. Hall is a very talented individual,
mess.
but he cannot stop the weather.
No, I know, I'm just saying, it just happened to be.
He thinks he can, but he
The
doesn't.
weather just happened to come along when they had all that down, and I realized that's an act of God, but
Yeah.
they did have all those trees chopped down. And I just don't wanna see them come across my property now.
Part of his job is to manage all the buildings that are going on in the city. And so those stipulations you're talking about, that's part of his job. Any other questions? We've had a long and a very, very good conversation, and I do appreciate it. And to this point, did I ever close the hearing?
I think you actually did close the hearing.
All right, so I closed the
I
hearing.
raised my hand.
You can close it again.
No, that means I gotta open it back. So anyway, all right, so let's move. Any other questions from the commission? Okay. No other questions? Any other questions from this group? You sure? All right, do I have a motion?
I'll move that we recommend the rezoning due to a public need and a change in the character of the neighborhood.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the rezoning to R2.
I'll second that.
And we have a second. I'll call for a vote. Those who are in favor of recommending this change, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Okay, we have one case. All right, motion carries. Now again, this is a recommendation to our Board of Aldermen. So you certainly have the right to appeal our decision. And I would encourage you to do so if you feel so inclined.
Can I make a request to provide a full traffic analysis provided to the board?
You'd like to have that
Prior to the plat.
added to go to the Alderman?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Let's make sure we have that in.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. All righty, that moves us to new business. I don't have anything on the agenda for new business. Anything from the commission?
Did we set a meeting for?
Do we need to do something for the?
That's the next item.
Oh. All right.
Okay. What'd you say?
We moved it to a special time.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we need to go talk about that.
Okay. All right, no new business. We move to our next agenda item, and that is the next meeting. And as you know, that falls during the Christmas holidays, and we need to be cognizant of our full-time employees at the city. And so I would ask the commission to look at the date, or listen to Mr. Hall as he proposes a date for us for our next meeting. My only concern, William, is how do we publicize that to the public? So if we have somebody that wants to come, that they get that information.
We can put that on social media.
And that's the primary way that we communicate it.
Yes.
All right. All righty, so I have on the agenda that, the next planning and zoning meeting will be held on Friday, December the 20th, at 1 PM. And I assume that's the date you're proposing?
Correct.
Okay. This meeting on Friday at 1 PM cause any hardship of the commission?
I mean, I would prefer not to do it, but I'm the only one. I really do like Wednesday at 1.
Well, the reason for selecting the 20th, everything is due by the 1st of the month for publication purposes. If we have anything to be published that month, the first day we're open is December 2nd, and it would not be published till that Thursday on the 5th.
Okay.
So the soonest we can hold that meeting is the 20th, because it has to be 15 days in publication. You know, past the 20th, we move into the week of Christmas.
Yeah.
Nothing is scheduled. Do y'all want to have, there's been some discussion about sort of a refresher, training, legality, would you want to move forward with that meeting for that purpose? Or would you say nothing scheduled, just not having a meeting right now, or schedule a training meeting another time?
How long is the training?
John's not
John's good.
That's good. That's a fair question, Phyllis. I was just gonna sort of go over not only y'all on the board the first time we did this.
Right.
but
I think the training's neat.
So, I think we did it in under an hour, 2 hours or so. We can keep it short, and I'm always available to anybody who has any questions. We can go over the basics and look at.
I mean, I'm okay doing it that day, but I also think it could potentially be more productive during a day where we're not like feeling like rushed to get out. If
Yeah, I
people
think-
have questions and we want to.
I mean, I'll be more flexible in January than I will December.
Okay. So it sounds like that if your office doesn't get anything in the first week of December, rather, may not be a need for this meeting at all.
It is possible,
Okay.
now there is the possibility, if we have nothing that requires publication, we could hold the meeting December 3rd. I mean, technically, but I wouldn't recommend it.
When will you know whether or not something needs publication? I guess what's the deadline for that?
5 o'clock on December 2nd.
Okay. So I guess you can let us know.
You have anything yet? You have anything right now?
Yep, that's right.
Next week.
You don't have anything?
I don't want to say.
Hopefully everybody
Not
is.
pulling that jeans.
They don't want to take their Christmas break.
And of course, if we need to do it by phone, you can call in too.
Yes.
Until we have Tim on them.
Oh, has he been sitting on the whole time?
Since about 5, 10 minutes.
Okay, you vote.
So when would that Wednesday be?
What now?
That Wednesday, you said Wednesday would work better.
The 18th.
Yeah, I typically have a little more flexibility on Wednesdays, but
So if we don't have something that needs a publication.
Yeah, if we don't have anything that we have to publish, we could do that.
yeah,
Keep them on line.
just the nature of my business, Mondays and Fridays are usually very, very.
I hope you voted yes on everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, all right, let's take folks. We're looking at the 18th or the 20th. 18th is a Wednesday. Still at 1 o'clock?
Leave that up to y'all.
Folks, y'all are welcome to leave. We're trying to
Is
figure out
December
when we're gonna
20th
meet
a
again.
Saturday?
That's a Friday.
Next Friday.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, Friday the
Wrong
20th.
year. Okay. There you go.
The 18th would be problematic for you if you do receive an application. Okay. Right.
Yeah, the only time we could for sure call it the 18th would be December 3rd.
So do we leave it the 20th for now, and then if we decide to change the date?
Yeah.
And move it up?
Yeah, that'd be fine. I like the plan. All righty. So next meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission is tentatively set for Friday, December the 20th at 1 PM at this very same location. All right. Hearing, do we have any other business to discuss? Okay, our favorite motion. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
And I have a second. The November meeting of the planning and zoning is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Happy
Thank you, ladies,
Thanksgiving,
for your
everyone.
questions.
Thank you all.